So today I'm just going to show you how to make something simple, um, which is this animation here. Oh wait, hold on. Just going to show you how to make this.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
All right, pretty simple, but there's a lot here to learn. So first, we need to make a new project. Um, so I'll just do blank here, make sure it's in blueprint, and I'm gonna call it my anim tutorial 4 because this is the first one I've made. Um, all right. So the first thing about Unreal, if you've never used it before, is getting familiar with the window. I think it's a little bit like Godot, in the way that some systems work, in the way that some, like the camera moves around and stuff like that. But in the top right here, you have your tools, which is like movement, rotate, scale, and then you have some other stuff right here that um, I don't get into too much. This moves things or like snaps things to a grid, which is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is your camera speed for moving around. So you can actually um, left click and drag around to move the camera and spin, or you can hold right click to look around and then use WASD, WASD, to move around just like Godot.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have all your assets on the current level. So this shows you your like lighting. Here's your player. Here's your player start, and world data. Everything you could need is like going to be right here. That's going to be in your current level. And then beneath that, you have all your important information. So that's going to be like where things are, how they're rotated, how big it is, and then you can change like, oh, here's how much light I want, or let's change the color to green. Um, so it's pretty easy to just go like, oh, there's that, and then here's like the thing I want, and we're moving that. Content drawer here is really important. If you open this up, it's in the bottom left here. This has everything that you're using in your project, is going to populate here, and you can organize it into like folder files, and it'll actually show up on your system under system files if you go into your project like that. And then in starter content, this has like everything that's included with Unreal, so you can go ahead and put in like a whole bunch of different shapes. And you can make your content drawer pop out like this, and then that way it can sometimes be easier to look through everything. You have like doors and chairs and stuff like that here. You also have an array of textures. So if I just wanted to put one of these on that, boom. Pretty drag and drop. It's pretty simple. Yeah, I'll let you read this for a second. All right. Now in the top here, this is where you can add other things. So this quickly adds to the project. Basically the same thing, it's just a different way of doing it, but you
Mm-hmm.
can get more specific about what kind of lights you want, and here's your access to like cinematic stuff, visual effects. So it's good to like know some of this I don't know all of it, um, but I know it's there. Here is your blueprints. Blueprints, here we go. On the top left, you can add your blueprints. Um, these are actually basically coding for non-coders, although I guess it would be helpful to know your code. Um, Now you can switch your blueprints to C++, I believe, but generally, you can just get through everything by drag and drop and knowing your commands. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's if you've like seen the uh, funny Unreal memes where like they have like a million things and they're all like tied together with strings and stuff like that and cables. Um, that kind of makes more sense to me because I don't know anything about coding. Um, but it's great because it's like it shows visual flow, how each element has like an input and an output, and they do something and then they go to the next one. Um, so I find that to be pretty useful. Um, and then right here is your cinematics. So the first actually, before we do that, you have to make a new level. So I'm gonna make a new level here, and we're gonna go with basic, and just save this, and we're gonna call this level 1. All right. So now that we have this, we can go ahead and make a sequence. Now, a sequence is how you are organizing your actual animations, or at least it's the way I've done it. Let me advance this. Oh, actually, before I get into that, here's some more tips about the lighting. So Unreal has a feature which is like auto contrast, which is pretty useful if you are working in like dark environments and you just need to be able to see what's around. But I find when you're just starting off and you haven't decided what your lighting is going to be like yet, you want to turn that off because otherwise you're not getting an accurate representation of the lighting that's in that level. So you go to Show, Post Processing, and it's called Eye Adaptation. You turn that off, and you notice it gets a little bit darker already. And then also, if you go to Lit here, and if you switch it to Unlit, this shows you everything without any lighting. So this is really I find this to be more helpful when you're working in the dark, because it just shows you everything on a flat surface, and you can see all the detail everywhere. But if you are working with lighting, then you can't use it. So we're turning that back on. That was just that, yeah. Oh yeah, and I went through this. You can use your scroll wheel to actually speed up and slow down how fast you're moving. Otherwise, I find that moving around the session to be pretty intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we can finally animate something. So we're coming up to here to the movie clipboard thing, and we're gonna add new sequence. I'm gonna call it just new level sequence 1. And it automatically pops up with a timeline down here. If you've ever used a timeline before with like video or editing software, then you already have like a pretty good idea of what you're doing. And especially if you've animated anything with like keyframes, then you do have like a pretty good idea. But the first thing you're going to need is a camera, and you need a camera for each shot. Now a shot can be however long you want it to be, but it can only track one camera movement. So if you need multiple camera angles, then you need multiple shots. And then you can put those shots together in a sequence. I'm just going to be showing one shot today, and you can look up how to do multiple later. And also, I'm going to tell you ahead of time that you can go ahead and bounce your sequences into files, and it will actually generate a frame for each or a file for every single frame, like JPEGs or something. But it has metadata attached to it, so all of those are together, and you can just take, if you just open the folder that you bounced it into in a video software that you have, like DaVinci Pro or DaVinci Resolve or something, it'll automatically pick up that that's one sequence, and you can just drag that in and work with it, and it works really, really well, rather than just like bouncing like an MP4. So to create our first camera, I click this camera button there, and it'll automatically put us in there. Now you can click this button to get out of that, and it'll show you exactly how your camera looks and where it's pointing and stuff like that. Or you can click this to lock it, and now you're actually looking through the camera. Now here's all your different, basically, tracks. So you can edit all of these how you see fit. Yeah, so these, I think they're called actors instead of tracks. But if you're familiar with audio, then they kind of act like tracks. But what is interesting is that they kind of work like a file system. So you can see how they have drop-down menus on each of them, and you can alter them like that, and it'll create a keyframe for this specific track. But if you do something for overall location, then it will create a keyframe there. If you create a keyframe on transform, then it'll lock everything, your location, rotation, and scale. Yeah. So this is actually the button that creates a keyframe. And here are your values that you can change. However, if you're working with the camera, it's also easy. Let me just, like, boom, there you go, keyframe. It's also easy to just move the camera around and boom, make a keyframe. And there you go, you have like a tiny little animation. I'm gonna get rid of those. But if you go ahead and change something, then it'll automatically create a keyframe in that instance. So let's say I'm starting here, make a keyframe there, and then notice it makes 5 keyframes for these, and you can open up that and you see, oh, it made even more there. So you mess around here. Oop. Bam. Yeah. All right, well, first we need something to point at. So I'm gonna put in this cone here. We're going to point the camera like that and make a keyframe there. Cool. So we'll do that. And then I actually want to make a keyframe at the end here, so that way it locks in place and we go back to the same place that we started at the end of the shot when we pan around. I'm gonna put in a few frames here, so I'm gonna go 1. Let's go actually a little bit farther, a little bit here. Oh, and then actually, let's delete these. Could you hear my stomach?
No.
Okay, that's good. Oop. All right, here. I ran out of room, so we just extend this out and extend this red line out and keep animating. And then it didn't. Okay. All right, I think that's good enough. Okay, what are we doing next? Yeah. So transform is actually the function that lets you play around with things. All right. Oh, before I get into that, we need to animate our sun. So I wanted to have like a little bit of a day and night cycle. So basically we come up here to directional light, which is our sun, and we can just drag and drop this right onto the animation window right here. And right now we can only animate its intensity, which we can do, but in order to make it look like the sun's moving, we want to add the track transform here. So now we can mess with the stuff. Now since directional light doesn't matter where you put it, you don't need to mess with location, but rotation does matter. So if we put that right there, ooh, you can already see it's making shadows in like different directions, right? So we'll put that there, and then when we get to here, I want it to be dark. And be like that. And then we get to the end. Is that too light? Too much light? I don't know. We'll try that, see how that looks. Oh, actually, I want to do something different. All right, a little bit fast, but I think that's usable. So we're done with the light. We can just close all of these tabs and be done with the light for now. Now we want to make an emissive texture so that this glows, and when it gets dark, it lights up and glows. So we want to actually add this pyramid in, so we just find it in here, drag it straight in. Now we can mess with the transform in case we want to push it around. I feel like you guys already got the hang of that, so I'm not going to mess with that right now, and I'm just going to show you how to add an emissive texture that you can then animate. So now we want to get into blueprinting. So first of all, go back to our content drawer, and we need to create a material blueprint. So I'm just right-clicking in here, and we want material, and we'll call this glow underscore texture, because Unreal doesn't like having spaces and anything. We'll double click that, and we open up our blueprint here. So the first thing we want to add is a constant 3 vector, which actually creates the color. So I'm just right-clicking, and I'm typing in constant, and then it'll automatically come up with results that you might want. So I'll go to 3 vector, and it'll create this box, and you double click on this color, and you can pick any color you want. Let's make it purple this time, and just make sure the brightness is all the way up. Good. Okay. And then we want another constant, but this time only 1, so that way we have a value, just a number value, and then convert this to parameter. And we're going to call this the glow amount. And then you want the default value set to 1. And the last thing, you want the multiply function. It's just standard multiplication. And then you take the output of this box, A, output of this one to B, and it'll just multiply this color by this amount, and you put that into the emissive color here. Click apply, and then save. We're done with that for now. And we take this glow texture, just drag and drop onto our triangle, and now it's pink. And it's glowing a little bit. You'll see here. Now, in order to animate it, we need to, I'm right-clicking on this again, and we will create a material instance. And we're going to call this just whatever it auto-named. Open this up, and what we actually want is under parameter groups, global scale parameter, open this, and we want glow amount. This is the thing that we made. We're going to turn this on, and it's default set to 1. And save that. Now, let me make sure I'm not falling behind here. Multiply. That's just a diagram of what you might need there. Yeah, you can double click, glow amount, and now we can get into actually animating the glow amount. So here we have our pyramid. We want to hit this plus, and under components we have the static mesh component. So we click on that, then we'll click on this plus here, and we'll find the material parameters. Ours is called basic wall because we haven't actually changed it. So we'll click on that, and it adds this, and then click on this plus one more time, and you should see glow amount right here if you've done everything right. This is the parameter that we made ourselves. So you click that, and there we go. Glow amount. I'm going to delete this keyframe. Cool. Now it's actually set to 0. I want it set to 0. That way it looks white. Now when it starts to get dark, I don't like this camera movement. Let's go ahead and change that. Yes. There, that's better. Okay. So when it starts to get dark, like right there, we'll start making it glow. Actually, no, when it starts to get dark, we want it set to 0. And then it'll start glowing when I get to there. And we can just go ahead and change this value and it'll automatically make a keyframe. And bam, it's emitting
Hmm.
And then it'll keep emitting. But when we get to... Actually, let me change this camera movement too, because this sucks. All right, that work? All right. Yeah, so when we get to here, we need to stop emitting. So we'll put a keyframe there and change it back to 0. And then that should be done. So let's Control S, because you don't want to lose that. And voila. A little bit rough around the edges, but I feel like this tutorial is comprehensive enough in everything, but is basic enough for anybody to follow along. Like, a lot of stuff in Unreal is pretty simple, and the hard part is getting the perfect result you want.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.